Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rubbin is Racing podcast. We're almost at the end of the year here, and it's brought to you by our continued presenting sponsor, which is Cabo Wabo Tequila, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. Cabo Wabo, it isn't just tequila. Oh no, it's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila, and Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of Nascar. So we had a bold splash to race day watching with our good friends at Cabo Wabo. If you're heading to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But we want to remind you, you have to leave the driving to the professionals, so please enjoy that thick-cut, bold taste of Cabo Wabo tequila responsibly. Grab your buds and a bottle of Cabo Wabo for the boldest race day experience ever. You must be 21 years or older. Need to handle it responsible, but it is extremely worthwhile because this stuff is delicious. Thank you, Cabo Wabo, for your continued support, and we hope to do a race with you guys next season. We're back. Rubbin is Racing. How's everybody doing? We don't have Quiggs today. Quiggs is doing something. I'm not sure. What's Quiggs doing today, Spider?
I think he's campaigning in the swing states on behalf of Kamala as we rapidly approach the election. I cannot confirm or deny, but that's the latest update I heard. I had
seen that he had set fire to a couple of mailboxes in Republican neighborhoods to try to get a lot of mail-in ballots, which I thought was an aggressive move, and it can't be confirmed or denied, so please don't come after him. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens in November. Moonhead, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Doing better than Quiggs, apparently. So I'm happy to be here.
Moonhead, how was the Miata thing?
Oh, it was awesome. It was incredible. It was better than I expected.
So this went from an iRacing philosophy, like an iRacing event of yours, to real life. Tell us about this.
So I don't know a lot of the, I guess, details of really where it came to be. I just know that Connor Zilish had shown some people the Moon Car 24, which is Mazda Miatas racing at Martinsville for 24 hours on iRacing, and they liked it. And then a year later they tested it, or about a year later they tested it, and then fast forward a year after the test, and they ran an exhibition race this last week, and it actually I thought it went way better than even I thought it could have gone. So hopefully they keep doing it.
I mean, it looked incredible, and the fact that you can make video games reality is impressive in itself.
This kid's a fucking unicorn, isn't he, Spider?
He's
this
something
Moonhead
else.
guy. It shouldn't be a unicorn. It fascinates me on a weekly basis, right? Just the little. What are you wearing on your head right now, Moon?
A hat that says Trailer Park Golf Club.
And is that one of yours? Do you sell merch?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, I sell shirts. No, I just have a hard time finding hats that fit my head, and
Same.
This brand kind of checks that box for me, so I bought a couple of their hats.
Can I make it about myself for a second?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm recording live from the Windy City, and boy, was it windy today. Today I stepped out of my apartment on my way to the office, and Mother Nature decided it wanted my Chicago street race hat more than I did. So it's out there flying around, whistling in the winds of Chicago on the street somewhere. I wasn't going to run into traffic after this hat. So yeah, shout out whoever came into a Chicago street race hat, 47 hat. But unfortunately, I feel like Woody without his cowboy hat today. But yeah, we're going no hat, no lid. I feel like Alex Bowman right now.
This is one of the first times that we've gone to a racetrack where we didn't do any merch. We didn't hit the haulers. We didn't do anything. And I think it was because we had a special guest with us with El Presidente. But we didn't get out there. I didn't get any Miami merch, nothing.
I'll say this, and the rest of the show I'm probably going to be, speaking very, very highly of Miami and Homestead and everything, and rightfully so. If I have one small complaint, it was that the merch haulers were outside of the they required going out into a fenced area. So it was not really – it was hard for us to bring Dave in there. We were going to for a second, and then it was just too busy and too – removed. But I think if they put that in the midway, Miami would be top of notch, and it really was. The race was elite. I mean, we'll save that for the recap part. But
I will remind everybody, a couple of weeks ago I said that I was buying something from GregBiffle.com. Perhaps that sweatshirt came in last night. I adjust my levels quite a bit during the podcast, so with a fresh iron-on the back, it's going to sound like I'm extremely gassy up in this studio, and I'm not. I would definitely fucking not deny it if I supplied it. But it's beautiful. So the 69 Greg Biffle SRX, go support that guy because he's a stud. Let's talk about that racetrack. Spider. We had been there once before. That was the first time that I was there sober. I think by last time we'd gone there, I had a couple in me, so I really wasn't paying attention to the particulars. It's an ugly racetrack from the outside. I think one of the people who we were with said, I feel like we're driving up towards La Quinta. Like it has that almost orangey yellow stucco that's painted. It looks like a place that might do a decent continental breakfast, not a place that has an elite track layout. So as much as you're saying, where the haulers are and stuff is the only thing you're going to say, that racetrack needs a facelift. It does.
I just think it needs a fresh coat of paint. Really.
Something. Underneath the grandstand has a very, they host the championship race in Phoenix and people seem not to like that. And I get it. And they used to host the championship race in Miami and the racing there is so good. But I do think it needs to do some sort of, I don't know, freshening up, which is a tentative plan why they move the race to the spring next year. So they'd have all of 25 and then even all of 26 if they weren't going to host until the championship race, perhaps in 2026. Yeah, so they'd have almost all 25 and 26. I hope that comes to fruition and I hope that make that place a premier destination for people to visit because the racing is top notch. And it's not in Miami. It's 45 minutes outside of Miami. The grandstand on Sunday wasn't packed to the rafters. I thought it was a good crowd. There wasn't much of a crowd for some of the other races that they held there. So I think if they do put a Miami spin on that, and I don't mean mojitos and fucking Cuban sandwiches, but something like that to get the people out there and excited, I think that we could have a absolute banger of a championship race there if they were to resurrect it in 2026. I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to watch 1,000 races there. I'm disappointed that next year it's going to be the spring race because I like the way that we're sort of culminating the season with it. But shout out to Miami for having a good racetrack. Miami, paint the fucking place. Is that fair to say?
No, I think that's fair to say because,
okay.
Again, like I said, I'm highly complimentary of Miami and we had a great experience this weekend. And I think it's the cherry on top is hearing the clips that we're going to have in our vlog of Denny Hamlin telling us like this is one of his favorite tracks, or Chase Briscoe saying this is his favorite track. He looks forward to this every year. The driver's perspective and hearing them say their opinion on it and speak highly of it only confirms my opinion of it.
Spider had this small handheld camera. It had its own built-in gimbal so you wouldn't have that shaky cell phone type effect, because sometimes if you try to tape a vlog on a cell phone as you're either me or Spider without a producer like Manoli wasn't with us in Miami. He was at Hedonism. So Spider had that one thing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that came out because it's going to be cinema verite, where it's right what we were doing. You kept just busting the thing out. So I think you really I wasn't even watching what I was saying, so I might have shit on people. I don't know. And the most important thing is that our boss came down. Like to have Dave down in Miami, he'd come down. Obviously, he lives down in Miami now. He was a big hit at the track, big hit with the drivers. We sat in at the drivers meeting. We were part of the dignitaries who were able to sit down, not kind of play the wall, which we do quite often. So I sat down next to you, who sat down next to Dave. All of a sudden, like, Bubba came in. I was like, Bubba, I think the driver's over there. He's like, fuck that. I'm sitting with you guys. So in our row, Moonhead, it was Dave, Spider, me, Bubba, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. Directly behind us was Denny Hamlin and Tyler Reddick. And right in front of us was, I think, like Ricky and a couple other drivers. And then all the other drivers were with the driver's side of it. I really felt like we had a sick pussy-eating posse with I don't know, I shouldn't have said that, but whatever the fuck it is. Like, I really felt that we had a sick posse for that thing as we were going over the rules, and they even introduced us. Part of the VIPs that are here today are the Barstool crew. And they did that because Dave was with us. We've been there at a bunch of other fucking races. They never mentioned us. Pisses me off a little bit. But otherwise, the hospitality, top notch, all that stuff. So I am trying to temper my negativity towards the stucco because, I'm a very visual type guy. So hopefully they'll screw it around. What did you think of the race fans interact? Moonhead, are you a big fan of Barstool? Do you know much about it?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah. It depends on what circles, I guess.
But so it's all about that Venn diagram where we intersect. if you saw Dave at a race, would you go up and ask him for a selfie? Like, is that one of those guys? Oh, you think so?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? Okay. There was a lot. I didn't know that there were so many NASCAR people who would do that. Like, I thought Spider and I take a lot of selfies at this thing. I thought we might give him a run for his money on the selfies thing this weekend. Wasn't even fucking close. I mean, it's impossible for a 6'5" guy with a size 8 head to be invisible, but it kind of was around Dave this weekend. I didn't hate it because that's why NASCAR had him there with us. So thank you to Dave for taking time out to come and spend some time with this franchise that Spider and I have taken over and made it into a fucking behemoth. The first DM, I don't know if you're getting hit with these, Spider. So many people asking us if we're going to Phoenix. I don't believe we're going to Phoenix. We're not going to Phoenix this year. Typically, when we do go to the final race, it would be with the sports book. We don't have a sports book anymore since the Penn deal had dissolved. So we're not going to Phoenix this year for the first time in 2 years.
But shout out DraftKings. We do love DraftKings.
So we have a relationship with DraftKings now, and that's the only relationship that we have. So everybody else can eat a big fat dick. I'll go one further. But we won't be going out to Phoenix. People are asking what races we're going to next year already. I think that's nice when people want to come by and, just see us and whatnot. So we took a look at it, and I think we know. Do you remember? I wrote them down, Spider. It looks like right now we're going to go to the Clash. Moonhead, you tell me where you overlap with us here. Looks like just Spider and I are going to go to the Clash at Bowman Gray. Are you going to that?
Yeah, I should be at that.
That's fantastic. Then we're going to go to the Daytona 500 as we always do. And I believe we're going down there with a bunch of guys, on behalf of most of DraftKings. We're going to try and make that into almost like show people how much fun it is to put responsible bets on NASCAR. So we're going to bring some of the gambling guys with us from Barstool. Daytona is shot of that, Moon? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be there too.
Fuck yeah. Then just Spider and I think, are going to Atlanta because we're going to do some stuff with body armor. I believe at the Atlanta race. So the first 3 weeks of the regular season, the Clash, Daytona, and Atlanta, we're definitely going to be at. We might be at a couple in between, but otherwise the next definite is going to be Talladega in the spring, April 27th. And we're going to bring some people from Barstool as well. Do I see you at Talladega, Moon?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we go into another little break. It's Texas, Kansas, North Wilkesboro, Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan. Mexico City. We're going to be going to Mexico City. And Moonhead, I'm assuming that you're definitely going to be in Mexico City with your family, right? Visiting your grandmother and whatnot? Or is that?
Yeah, I'll be there. Hopefully I can find some time to make it to the track.
And then we'll be at the Chicago Street Race because it's a home game for Spider. And then Dave had intimated that he really wanted to go to Sonoma. So those are the ones that we're tentatively scheduled for anybody that does want to meet up. And we'll probably maybe do a meetup at one of those or a live show. So it's going to be the Bowman Gray, Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega, Mexico City, Chicago, and Sonoma at the very least. And we'll add some more of those, maybe some in the playoffs. I didn't mention anything in the playoffs because we didn't get that far. So that's it. So a nice little slate for us next year, and I'm excited about it. Is there anyone that's left off there, Spider, that you think you'd want to go to next year?
I mean, yeah, there's always some that pop up that I'm like, oh, I'd like to go there. Darlington's one that I've never been to that I'd like to go to. Watkins Glen's another. Pocono's another. Both of those are very kind of accessible from where I previously lived, so it kind of kills me a little bit that I haven't seen either of those yet. New Hampshire would be a cool one. I'm obviously a New England guy, so I feel like that would be cool. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. We got some of the best ones on the schedule.
Yeah, I want to do Dover too at some point.
Dover would be cool as well.
Yeah, I think I would like to hit something like that. Pocono, I go with my family every year just to drive out. It's the week after Mexico City, so we'll see how that works out. All right, so then that's what we're going to do next year, and we're looking forward to it. But we still got a lot to get to, obviously, this year. I'm going to do a couple of headlines. The voting is open for the 2024 National Motorsport Press Association's Most Popular Driver Award. It opened up this past Monday, and it stays open until November 21st. They don't give this thing out until late. 1988 Cup Series champion Bill Elliott, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, has the record for most awards with 16, and his son Chase has received the honor the past 5 years. Is Chase Elliott winning it this year?
No.
You're saying he's breaking the 5-year streak, and Chase Elliott, the most popular driver in the world, has come to an end. He's not winning it this year.
On the sheet here, it says, who are you voting for? I'll tell you who I'm voting for.
Yes.
I'm voting for Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is getting, in my book, at least a win this year with most popular driver. He's turned a corner. He used to be pretty much a villain, be hated, and it seems like now he almost is like garnering sympathy in the garage, and people have come together and been like, you know what? We all collectively agree that Kyle Busch deserves better. For that reason, I'm going to give him the most popular driver. Household name. He seems to be more liked now than ever, despite the struggling season he's had. I could be wrong. I'll hang up and listen to your guys' feedback on that. I know that's probably a hot take, but I don't think he's actually going to win it for what it's worth.
No, but
he's my vote.
I think we all got to choose hills to die on, right? And I did ask, like, who are you voting for? And I had an idea of who I was voting for, but I think that as a podcast, if Moonhead, I think Quiggs would be in agreement. Moonhead, who would you vote for the most popular driver before Spider said what he said?
Probably Reddick, just based off of this year. Like, if I was a new fan coming in, Reddick would probably get mine.
I don't know where I was going. Like, I was thinking because we have until the championship, I didn't know. But I'm telling you right now, Moonhead, you're no longer, I don't mean to pull rank here, you're no longer allowed to vote for Reddick as a podcast. And whoever listens to this thing, first of all, God bless you. Secondly, vote for Kyle Busch. We're all voting for Kyle Busch on his last year, not his last year, but as this year where he's not going to get a win. Unless he if he wins in Martinsville or if he wins in Phoenix, fuck Kyle Busch. He's got his win. He's out. We're not. So I'm waiting until after Phoenix. Everybody here, I urge you to vote for Kyle Busch. He doesn't have a chance at winning, but I think that's our little ode to him. I was going to do Truex just on his last year, but I don't think Truex gives a fuck about it, to be honest with you. So I like that, Spider. I think that's good.
I do think Moon's onto something, though. It would probably be Reddick if I was being like realistic. I would love to see Kyle Busch win. If I had a vote, he would be who I vote for. But I think Reddick is deserving. And I do think, let's not give it to Chase this year. I love Chase Elliott to death. He's rightfully deserving of all the awards he's won to date. That being said, it's like...
He's in the pussy-eating posse, right? Like that we'd mentioned earlier.
Yep.
He doesn't know it, but he is. I'm sending him a jacket. But, yeah, I agree. Like, maybe we spread it around because I don't think he's going to be able to – if he was anywhere near beating his dad's record, I think that would be kind of interesting. But what about Larson? You don't think like Larson has become more popular than him just because he garners so much recognition? Or is that not enough?
I just think he's – I don't know. People who like Larson like him, and that's pretty much there seem to be only Larson fans. Like,
right.
It's not like they root for – a conglomerate of drivers. I don't know. I like Larson. I think that I don't see him winning it. I think there's been too much drama this season with the whole Coke 600 double duty thing. Not to say that it's NASCAR's choice, but I'm not sure that it would work for him this year.
The polls are open right now, and they stay open till November 21st. We're going to wait until after Phoenix, but then afterwards, the very powerful Rubbin is Racing lobby is going to put their full support behind Kyle Larson, except for Quiggs, who's riding in Haley Deegan. Obviously, it's fucking Quiggs. But otherwise, as a podcast, we're all going for Kyle Busch. Excuse me, Kyle Busch is the one that's going to be for us. Spider, I had a note written down in my phone in Miami where I might have been overserved at one point. Spider called a crew member deceptively muscular, a pit crew guy. Do you need to issue an apology publicly while we're here before we get into the race?
Yeah, I'd like to issue a formal apology to Jackson, the strength and conditioning coach at RCR. I don't know. I was trying to give a compliment on the podcast a couple weeks ago when I mentioned him winning the long drive contest. Large baited me with a bad question. I'm blaming it on him. That being said, I also simultaneously take responsibility for kind of mincing words. I want to be abundantly clear. Jackson is absolutely yoked, and I don't know what I said in hindsight, but he's shredded. Maybe it was because it was raining sideways that day at the Barstool Classic, and we were all wearing rain gear. But there's a reason he won the long drive contest. There's a reason he's the strength and conditioning coach for one of our favorite NASCAR teams that employs Paul Swan, amongst other. Have you seen RCR on pit road?
Yeah.
They are absolutely
beasts. Yeah, they're fucking beasts.
My boy Tingler, Shredded, all of them. So, yeah, Jackson, it's nothing but love. I'm sorry I got misconstrued in my storytelling. But, yeah, we are supportive. We've long been RCR guys. Nothing has changed. So, shout out Kyle Busch. Shout out Jackson, strength and conditioning. I hope you forgive me. That's all I got.
Next headline, NASCAR is heading to Saudi Arabia, maybe. So there was this thing that they're building in Saudi Arabia. It's called Qiddiya. It's it looks like one of those Mario Kart tracks, and it's going to be the entertainment mecca of the world. I'm invested in this because boxing has gone to Saudi Arabia now for all the big fights for just over a year. His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has opened up the absolute coffers, and he's paid fighters to fight people for undisputed championships at a bigger clip than I've seen ever. And I've been a huge boxing fan now for, nearly 50 years, right? So that's what's happening. So I watch a lot of fights that go down during Riyadh season over there in Saudi Arabia. So when I see a pithy headline that when they're building this futuristic city of Qiddiya, and they're building it around they're building a track around like a water park, and it honestly, it looks like the fucking Jetsons. And it's going to take a decade to do. And they had a flash of a screen on what the potential, they're in talks to bring a future race. They had a flash of a screen on what series they were eyeing, and NASCAR was in that. So I'm probably going to go to Saudi Arabia for a fight in the next year or so. I believe that I'm going to go to a fight. Tyson Fury is fighting Alexander Usyk on December 21st. You can catch all the action on DAZN. I'm probably going to go to one of these fights. Do you think that could work? I know they went to Japan, but it hasn't been in quite some time. If you tell me that it won't work because money's an issue, I will tell you that it's not, because it's for some reason it's not. It's like Scrooge McDuck just throwing bags of coins all the way around. So this could easily happen from a money perspective. How do you feel about NASCAR going off in Saudi Arabia? I don't know if we can get Moonhead to Mexico City. What's the chance we get you to Qiddiya, Saudi Arabia, Moonhead, for a race?
I mean, it looks cool. I would definitely. I mean, if someone else paid for it, I'd go. But
yeah,
it to me, it seems like, I don't know if it should be a top priority right now for NASCAR going to Saudi Arabia. I think we should maybe make it through Mexico City and see how that goes.
Yeah, see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'm sure there's even more logistical hurdles getting all the way over there. So, but the renderings, it looks like something out of a video game. So I hope it works out. I hope they find a way to do it. I think it'd be cool, but I don't know if now's the right time.
I think, and so now think about it. We'll be doing this a decade from now, Moonhead. I'll be dead, obviously, but you guys will be doing this a decade from now. Is there, like, Spider, do you think some places don't fit with NASCAR? Like, seeing them go through the streets of Chicago was a stretch, and then it wound up working out. Like, we got used to it, but it didn't make a lot of sense when they first said it. Going to Montreal, potentially in 2026, gives me a little bit of blood flow, which doesn't happen too often. Yeah. Going to Mexico City is cool. How do you feel about going overseas, and particularly going to Saudi, a place where we haven't seen, everyone plays football in London. Like all these people, they go here and there. Saudi's a little bit different. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I think it will definitely be one that's polarizing, because you look at kind of the narrative regarding kind of whitewashing or whatever it is. You can point to like golf with the Live Tour and PGA kind of splitting and everything. My take would be, I kind of agree with Moonhead. I don't think this should necessarily be a priority, as cool as it looks or as cool as it would be, or as much as I would want to be there for myself. But I do think if there is a financial incentive for us to go there, then it makes complete sense. You've seen NASCAR make financial moves in the past. I point to Auto Club as one example of that. If there's, an opportunity for them to gain something out of this alongside, the already mentioned exposure that we talk about every time we discuss racing in a new market, I think that's a given. But if there's something additional on top of that, it would just be a home run for NASCAR, and I would think they would be foolish not to entertain this. I think it's a whole new market on the other side of the world where, I don't know. I feel like whatever we can do to kind of siphon off some of the F1 fans is great, and this seems like something that could be good for that. I saw that this track also may be used for as an F1 circuit, so I think any kind of way that we can get eyes on NASCAR, especially from a new, fresh market like this, is beneficial, especially one that's flush with cash and large, as you mentioned, can kind of do whatever they want in terms of logistical setups or track building, etc.
Yeah, it's amazing what they do. The time difference is what screws me, because sometimes I feel like I'm watching a fight, and the people there, it's like 3 a.m. by the time the main event goes off, and there's not a lot of booze there. Right? There's no open alcohol consumption and whatnot. So there are some hurdles to jump over for a traditional NASCAR fan. But to Moonhead's point, I don't think a traditional NASCAR fan is like, all right, so we're definitely going to Talladega. I think we're going to get up to Dover. Then we're going to go to Saudi. And we're probably going to make the Daytona Fall race. Like, I don't think that's going to be it. This will be a destination and perhaps a one-timer. I don't know. I'll be the one that will report on this first after I go see a fight. I thought it was an interesting headline. I'm going to go right into what you had mentioned about how, F1 is going to have some exposure if they were to race here, and how NASCAR can have some exposure if they race here. I'm going to give away the Nobody's Cooler to somebody who I think is giving NASCAR exposure out the ass. Nobody's Cooler, by the way, this week is actually brought to you by Cars.com. You want to find a trustworthy dealer, dealership reviews from shoppers like you. Cars.com offers the latest research, shopping tools, and dealership reviews to help every shopper find the perfect car, shop by monthly payment or filtered by features, to find the cars that fit your budgets and needs. I have been married for 25 years. I was dating her for about 2 years before that, maybe. I haven't touched or bought a car since then, because Annie's a big car head. She's a big gear head. So I went on Cars.com to see what it would be like to buy a car on it, and it is idiot-proof. And I'm saying that from the perspective of an idiot. Extremely easy to use and extremely helpful. Don't buy a car without going to Cars.com first. Visit Cars.com and start exploring your next possibility today. I'm giving it to Jordan. I don't like Michael Jordan. I had a season tickets to the Knicks from 1994 to 1997. I did not like Michael Jordan then because he was a Knick killer. And then obviously with Michael Jordan and the lawsuit, that's something totally different from what's happening. We're not talking about that now. Having him jumping up and down when Tyler Reddick won and seeing that on his face and that being on just about every major news network is incredible exposure for NASCAR. I came into the office today and Jenks came up to me. Why was Michael Jordan so happy? Doesn't understand it, and Jenks doesn't know much about NASCAR, so I just explained that to him. Frank the Tank didn't know about the ins and outs of what Jordan is doing with 2311 necessarily, or what they're doing with NASCAR now. So it's an absolute blessing. This has nothing to do with the lawsuit at all. It's an absolute blessing to have a guy who is a sports icon, possibly the biggest in the history of sports. There's an argument that Michael Jordan is the biggest sports icon or most recognizable sports icon in the history of sports, jumping up and down like a fucking excited schoolgirl on prom night when his driver won. You can't pay for that type of promotion for a sport that I've come to love. So nobody's cooler than Michael Jordan this week. Congratulations on the win for 2311. Maybe carve us up some fucking free shoes. Did you see the shoes that Denny was wearing this week? Inside the car?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's the best thing, Large, because he's got, not only does he have a Jordan sponsorship, but even like his shoes, the driving shoes are elite.
Oh,
custom,
man. They're cool as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone else looks like they're wearing wrestling shoes or ballet shoes sometimes. Denny's got Denny's got them. Let's recap the race. While we were down in Miami, let's not talk about the race just yet. What did you think of Poppy Steak, Spider?
I thought Poppy Steak was phenomenal. We were lucky to get one last fantastic meal in with our NASCAR clients.
Yes.
We went to Poppy Steak in Miami, and we had a fantastic meal. And I'll be the first to say, hand up, Poppy Steak, or even if you did see my Instagram story at HQ Spider with an I, we we were eating at this place that is very much like an Instagram restaurant. What I mean by that is like they smoke the pastrami in front of you. The baked Alaska comes to your table on fire. They brought out $1,000 steak in a briefcase and like celebrated around our table with flashlights like it was bottle service at a nightclub.
Yeah.
Everything is a production meant to be filmed and posted on social media to be like, ooh, look at me. With all that being said, Poppy Steak's food was actually elite. I had a great meal. The steak was phenomenal. The sides were great. We had a great creme brulee and some cheesecake for dessert. I was thoroughly impressed, and I was prepared for it to just be like what I said, like more of a movie as opposed to an actual restaurant. So, yeah, I was impressed. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but I will probably definitely be back to Poppy Steak, hopefully. So, yeah, I would recommend Poppy Steak. It has the Spider endorsement.
I hated it.
Really?
And the thing is, Spider, I'm a big man. They put us in the private room. We spent a lot of money there. Like you glanced over it. We spent $1,000 on a bone-in ribeye that came in the usual suspects, or the light up briefcase, and then some other guy comes over with the branding iron, puts it. This is before the steak was cooked, so you see that the brand is in it, that they didn't switch steaks. Whatever. There was 9 people around there with flashlights and strobe lights while we're singing about getting the steak and stuff. I couldn't get somebody to fill up my fucking water. I'm touching knees with people. They fit us in this room. There was 9 of us at a table. That was a table for 10, and it would have fit maybe 6 comfortably. I wasn't a huge fan, except for that one fucking dish. They brought out this cloche, the glass things, the domes that go over, they're called cloches, and it was already filled with smoke. This smoke had that sweet wood smell that almost smells like, might be pecan wood, I'm not sure. Almost smells like marshmallows. And once they opened up the cloche, that smoke came, just billowing out, and underneath it was a very good pastrami. A very good fucking, I don't know where they cut the pastrami. It wasn't a traditional brisket. It wasn't even that fattier decal on top of the brisket. It was leaner, perfectly cooked with some homemade mustard and a couple of, what did you call the pickles on top, Spider?
Accoutrement? I don't know. What is
Cornichons. You hit me with the cornichons. Yeah. It's with the cornichons on top. And I would tell you, excellent. Otherwise, that place could fall into the fucking ocean. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't even talk to somebody because there was so much 21 Savage playing over my shoulder. Fuck that place. Wave in the pastrami. The rest of that place could go to hell. Miami was great. That's the whole idea. I know that the track wasn't packed, but holy shit, just walking around with all the beautiful people, a lot of just, I don't know. It was kind of cool. We rented a Maserati. We were staying in the Nobu Hotel. The fuck was this? It was like a NASCAR weekend. And whatever. It was very, very enjoyable. We get to the track, we saw a bunch of people. Shout out Haley comes up to us. She's like, so many people reached out to me because we were on the show, and she's very respectful. Then we took a picture with Justin, who was driving the Chili's car. Obviously, we must have done something to Justin because he spun out less than a lap into the whole thing. I think him and Corey finished P34 and P35, so neck and neck this one. But the whole day was about Tyler Reddick and Tyler Reddick's move at the end. As a guy who's been watching this a long time, so many outlets have called his effort in those last couple of laps Herculean, Moonhead. Is this being hyped up too much? This is one of the best endings that I've ever seen. And Spider and I were up in the box. Spider was going fucking bananas about it, because he had also bet on Reddick. So it was a very electric feeling. It's one of the better races I've ever seen. Is it okay to put that up there in the pantheon of great finishes? Or is this just recency bias?
I think it was really, really cool. I think this finish was kind of an example of the championship format working, I feel like, as intended. I feel like a lot of times we crap on it because it sometimes produces goofy situations or people taking spots in playoffs that maybe don't deserve them. But I feel like once we get down to the round of 8, moments like that where Reddick's sending it on the outside of Blaney, both of them, whoever wins that race is going to be locked into Homestead or Phoenix. So I think all of that, all the factors that go into it, I think it makes it one of the more exciting finishes I've seen just because of what was on the line. And kind of some of the backstory with the 23-11 deal, Denny being involved in the battle for the win, Blaney being the defending champion, like all of that. You couldn't script a situation better than that right there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's recency bias. I think that it was just a badass finish.
And it's a perfect storm more. Like the idea of the cringeworthy moment if Tyler Reddick were to win the championship and to have the people who are being sued essentially give the championship trophy to the people who are suing them. Like that's a palpable storyline, you know? And on top of it all, having Tyler Reddick going from being on his hood a week before to now, you know, having this, again, Herculean effort to win where there was three lead changes in the last 3 laps. I don't know. I don't think that you can understate just how fucking great of a race that it is. Jordan Bianchi was at the track. Spider and I had seen him twice. We'd seen him at the Haulers, and then we had seen him after the race real quick. And very nice guy, you know, said hello and whatnot. I told him how, I love his work. Gluck wasn't there, but we talked about the poll with Jordan afterwards, and he said, if this doesn't get a 95, I don't know anything anymore. And then I said, if it gets a 75, I'm going to kill myself. It got a 93.8 on Jeff Gluck's poll of was Homestead a good race. 93.8. And I think almost 29,000 people voted on this poll, which means 6% said no. What were those 6% of 90? What were those 1,700 people who said no, this wasn't a good race? What were they thinking? What did I fucking miss about this race that made somebody say, other than the fact that maybe they hate Tyler Reddick, or you know what I mean, or they're huge Blaney fans? Other than that, is there something I missed where this race wasn't as good as I'm going to make it out to be?
I'm of the opinion it was a great race top to bottom. I was texting Moonhead during the race, and I feel like he was a little disappointed early on, but I was enjoying it. And then I think it really heated up there and got even better toward the end. But personally, I thought all throughout was satisfying. And then obviously you had one of the best finishes of the year, a dramatic, I don't know, especially with the fact that Tyler Reddick doesn't really run well at Martinsville. I felt like this was his opportunity, and then to see him execute there, I think was the cherry on top. So I was very impressed top to bottom. I'm not sure. I think those 6% of people are just maybe like miserable. I don't know.
But Moon, so then you said that the race kind of had a slow start for you. So were we just caught up? And the difference between you watching at home, like Spider and I with Dave, we were at Denny's RV, hanging out with Denny and the gentleman who does Actions Detrimental with him. What the hell's his name?
Jared.
Jared, yeah. By the way, I listen to that. That guy Jared does a great fucking job. I listened to Denny this week, and Denny was like, with the B2B stuff, I've always known business to business, what it meant. I never really got it too much with NASCAR. So he was like, Denny, can you break it down? And it's almost like he asked that question for people like me. He does a very, very good fucking job on that show. So we were hanging out with him. Then we went to Blaney's RV. And, out steps the lovely Gianna, who's an absolute vision. And Ryan comes out, and he's so fucking gracious. Bubba comes over on the golf cart. Then we went to Tyler's hauler. We're hanging out with Reddick. That's when Dave said, everybody bet on Reddick. Like, Dave gave him, is like he put a horseshoe up Reddick's ass. We went in and signed a samurai sword for Noah Gragson. So we were really having a good day, Moonhead, and the weather was perfect. So did that kind of cover up for us that maybe the beginning of the race wasn't that great?
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting on my couch hungover watching this, so I feel like that probably influenced my opinion on the early stages. But I will say, looking back on it, I was wrong. I just needed to be a little bit more patient. I think I was just I kind of threw in the towel early and was like, oh, this is going to be a boring race. Nobody's going to pass anybody. Nothing's going to happen. And boy, was I wrong, because about the time I said that is when it kind of really amped up and then ended up being one of the, in my opinion, best races of the year.
It was his 3rd win of the season, his 8th total win over 6 seasons for Tyler Reddick. The race, according to Jeff Gluck's poll, which has been going on since like 2016, it's tied for the 9th best race in pole history. For 2024, people who are complaining about NASCAR this year, 2024, this is the third highest rank of the season. This is the third best race of the season, and I thought it was a banger, but Kansas in the spring was number one, which was also a great goddamn race, and then obviously the Atlanta spring race, which we all loved. 3 of the top 10 races in pole history have happened this year. 3 of the top 10 have happened in this year. The 2024 season now has 7 races in the 90+% club. There are 35 races that have scored 90% or higher in the poll since 2016. 35 since 2016. 7 of them have been in this season. So I think it's been an extraordinary season for NASCAR is what I'm trying to say. Not just because Jeff Gluck's poll had told me so, but because we've been boots on the ground and kind of just enjoying ourselves. Blaney, everyone is talking about Blaney. Why didn't he block him to the top? Why didn't he block Reddick? Do you guys have any? I had seen what Ryan had said afterwards. I'd seen the lap times, and I think the lap time on Blaney was 33.9. Reddick was 33.3. So he was basically a fucking rocket ship that, I don't think Blaney could really understand how fast Reddick was going. Do you blame Ryan Blaney? Did he lose this race, or did Reddick win it? You know what I'm saying? There's a distinction there.
It's tough. I don't put it on Blaney. I think Reddick had unreal speed there at the end, and he made that kind of aggressive move work. He sent it, and it worked out for him. So, unfortunately, I think it's just another case of Blaney getting beat by the smallest margins possible. We saw this happen earlier this year at Atlanta, I believe it was, when he was with, who was it? Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch were alongside him in that photo finish. It's just tough for Ryan Blaney. I mean, defending champion, I think he's had a very, very good year this year, and a lot of it's been discounted by just some of the craziest finishes we've ever seen, whether it be Reddick this past week at Miami. And I think, I don't know, I'm not going to sit here on Monday morning quarterback and be like, yeah, Blaney should have blocked. He's a defending NASCAR Cup Series champion. He knows better than probably anyone what to do in those situations. So I think it's just a matter of it didn't work out for him in this particular instance.
Should he have gone dirty?
I don't think so. I mean, we've seen drivers choose the dirty route earlier this year, and pretty much the whole garage kind of collectively agree that that was the wrong move. Not that really matters. Sometimes, like in the Austin Dillon case, I was of the opinion that was essential given the rules format. But I don't see Blaney or Reddick being the dirty guy, especially when I feel like those guys are pretty clean drivers that are often the guys that will call out others for being dirty. Not on some Karen energy, just more so like they're clean drivers and expect the same out of their peers. So I don't think either of them were in a position to wreck one or the other or even move them.
Tyler Reddick said right afterwards in the post-race interview, "Thank you very much, Ryan, for racing me clean." And I think, I think that Ryan is a great champion, and I think he's a very good person. Like, we've had him do stuff for us promotionally. We just had him meet up with Dave. I think Ryan Blaney, if he was to repeat as champion this year, it'd be very good for NASCAR. I think he's an excellent, excellent champion for NASCAR. A good guy to have up there as a figurehead. I just wonder if he needs to throw on the black hat every now and again and put Reddick into the fucking fan. And he probably couldn't. Reddick entered turn 3 quicker than he probably should have been able to. I don't know how he was able to hold on. So it might not have been the instance where he could have done that. But I wonder if we get nasty Blaney at some point where he just gets fed up of going clean. And I'm here for it, to be quite honest with you. What did you think of the end? Moonhead, is there anything you saw, any kind of nuance that would change my opinion?
No, 'cause, I mean, Reddick was just so fast. I think the way he was ripping the top, and then he ran the bottom in 1 and 2 to get around Denny and got to Reddick. I think no matter what Blaney did, I think Reddick was going to do the opposite, and he was so good he was probably going to get by him. So I think that his only option was to put him in the wall, and that's not Ryan Blaney.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he should, but Reddick and Joey are moving on. Bell is plus 29. Byron is plus 7 from the cut. Below the cut now is Kyle Larson, minus 7. Denny Hamlin, minus 18. And Ryan Blaney, minus 38. And Chase Elliott, minus 43. I guess they're both in must-win positions going into Martinsville. NBC got 2.3 million viewers this week, up 4% from last year. That's awesome. And again, everyone's saying they should host the final race there. I couldn't imagine if that was a battle for the championship between those four drivers. That would have been just absolutely epic. As much as I say that place looks like a La Quinta and I'd like to see a renovation, can they renovate that place without touching the track? Because if they go and, put up some space age Saudi Arabian type, facility there, can they leave the old track there? I'm hoping the answer is yes. But do you think they'll fuck that up and change what makes that track so great?
I hope not. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if they were to renovate, the track should be the one thing that they don't touch. I think I don't know. They got a good thing going with that track. The drivers seem to like it. The fans seem to like it. It seems to provide good racing with the current package cars. And we saw another banger finish. So I don't think really anything should be changed. I mean, maybe, like I said, a fresh coat of paint. But I also think Large is probably being a little bit too hard of them.
I am.
Like, so what? They don't have a cactus checkered flag, flag stand?
Right? You know
deal.
what I'm saying, Spider? They need fucking poppy steak there because it's fucking Miami is what I'm saying. They need the empanadas that you had in the airport. They need to do that. They need a smoked turkey leg. I couldn't get one of those bitches there.
Yeah,
there
they
are certain things that they do need to make that thing to be a little bit more bells and whistles so Pitbull can show up with a posse of 1,500.
They need to build a barn to throw a party after the champion is determined. I mean, if that race was for the championship, that would have been insane.
I mean, we would have been going absolutely fucking bananas. Talk about, because Moonhead did allude to it. So now I just told you where the standings are. So you see these guys, Reddick and Joey moving on. Bell Byron, Larson Hamlin, Blaney Elliott. Did the playoffs get it right now? I'm going to ask you again after next week when we get to the Final Four, but I think the answer is going to be the same thing. Playoffs got it right now. They didn't necessarily have it right when we were at 16. Harrison Burton shouldn't have been there. They really probably didn't have it right when we got to the round of 12. Maybe Briscoe was the guy that shouldn't have been there. Maybe Cindric, maybe whatever. But so we had an argument at 16. We had an argument at 12. But now they're at the end of round of 8 going into the championship 4. NASCAR got it right this year. Don't we all agree? Can you agree with that this playoff structure was the best for this year or no?
I'm prepared to take the other side.
Go, please.
I mean, you got Christopher Bell, who's far and away, I shouldn't say far and away, but leads in points, most top fives, 3 wins, and he's on the outside looking in on the playoff 4. Three of the top drivers in the points standing are on the outside looking in. That also goes for Byron and Kyle Larson as well. Byron with 3 wins, and then Larson with 6 wins, not in the championship.
He's below the
4,
cut.
Is kind of crazy to me. I understand he's kind of like feast or famine. We've seen him either be dominant or a lot of times like do not finish. But I don't know. I don't know that I could sit here and agree wholeheartedly that this is the best format when 3 of the top drivers of this year have not won. Sure, maybe if we're determining a champion based on clutchness, Tyler Reddick should absolutely be in contention and alive for winning that. But overall best driver, champion, winner, I don't know that I can sit here and say 100% this is the best
I like that because that's smoky with what I just said. But one of those guys is definitely going to be in there. So Bell, Byron, or Larson will go. Only 2 out of those 3, if you want to consider those the elite of who's left over, 2 of those guys. So at least 1, perhaps 2 will get in, and only 1 guy will get fucked, or 2 guys will get fucked. I think that's kind of as close as you can get it here. And I think having somebody like Joey Logano, if you want to talk clutch, having those 2 wins when he did in the playoffs, you gotta give it to him. Like, that's
right. But that's back to my thing. Is the championship to determine, is it a trophy for who's the clutchest of the year, or is it the best driver of the year? I think those are different conversations.
But what sport doesn't do that? Like, if a lower seed beats a higher seed, they were just clutch and won a championship. Like, you know what I'm saying? If an 8 beats a 2, I don't know. I mean, I guess we can go back and forth. You know, Moonhead,
Yeah.
is it closer to being perfect, or did they just get lucky?
I think it's close this year. I think the one that sticks out to me is probably Joey. But at the same time, you can't really hate the player. I mean, he's executing to the format. So I am a believer that teams base how they approach races based on the points format. So to say, oh, Joey doesn't deserve to be here, I mean, I think that it's kind of been abundantly clear that they're willing to be risk takers and try things outside the box when they're not fast, and it has paid off for them. And that wouldn't necessarily pay off in a conventional points format. So I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve to be there. And honestly, I'll probably side with Large. Like I think overall these 8 are probably the 8 that I would pick to be championship worthy this year.
I would agree with that. But I mean, we'll see where we go when we go down from 8 to 4, if those 4 are the best of, I don't know. It's going to be hard to see.
I think, and I totally get that, but I think if I'm looking at the rest of these guys, Chase Elliott looks like the guy who doesn't deserve to be there. You know, like Joey Logano, who has 3 wins this year, what the fuck's wrong with him? And I know those 3 wins came later on in the year, but still, 3 wins are 3 fucking wins. So it looks like Chase Elliott, and I'm not saying that as revisionist history because he's at the bottom of the rankings right now, but like he seems like the guy who you could have replaced perhaps with somebody else who was having a pretty good year but just didn't get that W. All right, so it was, I think you can argue on who the Final Four is going to be. We're going to know definitively after this week once we roll into Martinsville, which I cannot wait for. But first, one thing that NASCAR and we want to remind you of is that this season's over. You got to get on the stick with getting to whatever race you need to get to next season. And that's including the one that all 3 of us, but we're going to try to get Quiggs there, and Manoli will be with us, will be at the Daytona 500. And we believe that it's something that you have to experience in person. There's nothing like witnessing the stars of NASCAR battle for position going 200 miles an hour on a 2.5-mile super speedway. 40 drivers will compete amongst the likes of everybody that we just mentioned, everybody who's in the final 8, everyone who's in the 16. The whole goddamn field will be there, and it's going to make the start of what we're hoping is a historic NASCAR season in 2025. You don't want to miss a once-in-a-lifetime sporting event. I consider it a bucket list destination. Purchase your tickets today for the 2025 Daytona 500 at Daytona500.com. Full lineup this weekend at Martinsville. Big weekend in Martinsville. And the naming rights are kind of weird for me because Friday, the trucks race is called the Zip Buy Now, Pay Later 200. The Zip Buy Now, Pay Later 200. Starts at 6 p.m. Friday on the CW. And then Saturday's Xfinity race is the National Debt Relief 250. And it's starting at 4 p.m. on Saturday on FS1. And I see that that's kind of like Buy Now, Pay Later and then National Debt Relief. Those 2 titles for those races are exactly what's wrong with this fucking country. People are buying stuff they can't afford, and then they're looking for debt relief, but I'm going off on a tangent. And then Sunday at 2 p.m. on NBC is the Xfinity 500. It's the 9th race of 10 in the playoffs, and the last before Phoenix. Martinsville Speedway. We've been there. We just did the walk there with Frank a couple of months ago, just over a half a mile in length. It's the shortest track in the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. Small size, tight corners, unique shape called a paperclip. It offers some of the most close quarters racing of the season. Last year's winner was Ryan Blaney, but Denny has won this race 2 times and has won there otherwise a bunch of times. He's the only active driver with multiple wins in this race. In the last 20 years, only 1 winner outside of the big 3, Joe Gibbs, Penske, and Hendrick, and that was Tony Stewart back in 2011. So it's been dominated by the big 3 since then. Average race time is 3.5 hours. And because it's a short track, the average speed will be around 75 miles an hour. This year, we're going to have brand new tires at Martinsville. So people don't know exactly how to prepare and set up their cars. And I can tell you right now, Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano do not give a fuck. Joey Logano, I didn't even see him this week. I think he finished maybe in the 20s. Everybody else kind of finished where they should have. I think the top 7 drivers were all playoff drivers. Top 6, if you include Alex Bowman, kind of got hosed. We know what happened to Larson. And then Joey was way in the back. He hasn't given a fuck. But like I said, he doesn't have to. So that's it. And the last spring race that we had here, if you remember, Hendrick finished first, second, and third. One of the things, I looked at the paint schemes. We're recording on Wednesday, so we're privy to a little bit more information. None of the paint schemes for the Cup Series turned me on, but that fucking guy, Shane Van Gisbergen, is driving the Wendy's car, and it's awesome. I love this. I put it in the thing. Spider, did you get a look at this thing yet?
I did. That thing's hot.
I can't stand this fucking guy. I love where the 97 is placed on the door. I love that they're dipping fries in the Frosty. It's a fat guy friendly move. Everything I like about this son of a bitch. So Van Gisbergen will be wheeling on Saturday for the Debt Relief 250. With that, let's go into picking the tires. And it's going to be brought to you by DraftKings. We're going to talk about the NBA. For some reason with DraftKings, the NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at the DraftKings Sportsbook. What doesn't the DraftKings Sportsbook do? They're great for every sport. An official sports betting partner of the NBA and the home of NBA player props. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and place your bet. They have odds for everything. Honestly, I talk about Cars.com and how easy it is to use. DraftKings is so goddamn easy to use as well, and particularly if you're betting on the NBA or NASCAR. If it's your first time, new DraftKings customers, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So take it to the rack with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rubbin, RUBBIN. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I will defer to you guys if you'd like. We do have a full spate of drivers to bet on this week because we are recording this on Wednesday. Who do you like? Spider, you want to let Moonhead go first or you want to go first?
Yeah, Moon, why don't you go first?
Yeah. Anybody jump out at you, Moonhead? Or you want to go to back of the lineup? You can do either.
No,
I don't care what you
I've got three people. I like Blaney, I like Byron, and I like Christopher Bell.
Did he just take the whole fucking field, Spider? Did he just honestly? Did we offer Moonhead the first shot and then he just took? Who do you like? So Blaney at plus 600 by. All right, so you didn't take the two. I'm going to take that back. But Blaney, Byron, and Bell, you son of a bitch. Go ahead. Go ahead. What do you got on that?
I all three of them outrights. Fuck it. I won on Reddick last week. I'm feeling good again. I feel like I know what I'm talking about now. So I really like Bell. I like the year he's had. And I know he hasn't maybe run statistically as great as some of these other guys at Martinsville, but this is kind of, in my opinion, been a breakout year for Bell. And I feel like even though he's sitting pretty decent points wise going into this, he's going to have to really show up still being plus 29. He's not completely safe. So I really like him. And then obviously Byron, very, very strong there. Hendrick strong there. And then Blaney pretty much in a must win. And I'm sure after last week, he's going to be hungry. So
he's looking at Bell right now at plus 1,000 or plus 1,100. Is that correct, Moon?
Mm-hmm.
For people who are on board with Moonhead and what I was talking about with DraftKings Sportsbook, you don't even have to have Bell win because if you go a little bit deeper, you could take Christopher Bell at plus money, plus 125. All he has to do is finish ahead of Denny Hamlin. That's the head-to-head matchup. Christopher Bell is plus money in the head-to-head matchup with Denny Hamlin. And if you go to the race props, you can go for top Toyota, and Christopher Bell is plus 350. So all he has to do is just beat the Toyota field. So there's a bunch of ways on DraftKings in which you can make money if you feel like Christopher Bell is going to do very well without him even winning the race. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. Spider, you're up. Who do you like?
Yeah, I'm looking at two guys that are both plus 800 and finished here strong. It's William Byron. It's Chase Elliott. I think the Hendricks looked strong here last time by. Byron won the thing. 1, 2, 3 finish, as you mentioned, Large. 8-1 is a good price for these guys. That season is on the line. Both of them need to win and perform good to get in to the championship 4. I think they're both capable of doing it. They both have good history of running here. If you look at the driver averages in their 7 most recent races, I do find it interesting that the number 1 and 2 drivers are Joey Logano with an average finish of 5.3, and then right behind him is Ryan Blaney with an average finish of 6th. In 7 races here, he has 4 top 5s. So I don't know. I'm a little intrigued, like Moonhead is, by Ryan Blaney, especially he's been running hot. I think momentum is a very real thing. We saw Byron get 4 straight top fives in the last couple weeks. So I don't know. Blaney would be the guy outside of those names that I gave you, but I think Chase Elliott, with an average finish here of 9.7 over the last 7 races, is a good bet, 8-1. And then William Byron, who has an average finish of 7.5 in the last 7 races, with 2 wins to go alongside it, is definitely worth a look at 8-1, especially in back against the wall situation.
I think this worked out pretty perfect then, because I'm going to take, so because of the new tires and nobody knowing exactly how they're going to react, I'm sort of leaning towards those veterans like we hear so often if it's a new track. And with that, Joey Logano is plus 350 for a top 3 finish. So I don't necessarily like Joey in this race, particularly how he had raced last week. Just seeing that he has there's a good chance that Joey is doing sim work for Phoenix while he's in the car in Martinsville, right? Because it doesn't really matter. But I still can't pass up Joey Logano plus 350 for a top 3 in a track where it might come down to some degree of strategy. And by that account, I'm taking Denny at plus 400 to win the whole thing. So I'm taking 2 of the old guys because I am an old guy. I'm going to go Denny to win, and Joey Logano a top 3 finish at 350. Tyler Reddick a top 3 finish is plus 550. I know that Tyler can legitimately take a week off, and I don't know what his stats are at Martinsville, so I'll stay away from that. So Joey and Denny are the ones that I'm taking. We'll probably throw that in with Quiggs' picks as well once he gets back from whatever. Go ahead, Spider.
Shout out to everyone who is in the Barstool Bets group on DraftKings. I know 90% of the bets are football, basketball, non-racing, but I'm in that group, and we had 15 people tail me on Tyler Reddick plus 650. I know he wasn't on the graphic that we posted on Sunday morning. I got some smoke for that, but the reality of it is 15 people cashed on Tyler Reddick plus 650 pre-winning the poll. So I appreciate everyone who's backing and riding with us in the Barstool Bets group on DraftKings. Make sure you join for yourself so you can stay up on all of our bets. And the reason that I took Tyler Reddick after the fact was because Dave was already in Miami, where DraftKings is not live, and they said, hey, we want to have a NASCAR pick in the Barstool Bets group. Do you mind adding one to your card, Spider? And I said, you know what? Absolutely. I'd be honored to share a pick with the great people in the Barstool Bets group, expecting no one to back me. So the fact that 15 people also cashed is great. And I knew then when they asked me, I had to go with fellow DraftKings guy, Tyler Reddick. Right. And then we get to the track. Dave's endorsing Tyler Reddick. Bet him. I knew it. I heard
think
MJ
he stole your thunder? Because I'm going to only clip this one. Spider, do you think that Dave blatantly stole your thunder and took credit? Because that's stolen valor, and I won't stand for it.
No, I think Dave and I both saw eye to eye and came together originally on the Tyler Reddick pick. However, I will take all the flowers. So.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that I didn't mention, you think that fact that Florida, are you allowed online gambling in Florida at all?
You are on one sports book, which I will not name.
Of course not.
That can't hold a candle to DraftKings.
I think they should get their shit in order to branch that out if the championship was to come back. And I think people have to keep in mind that also the championship runs during hurricane season, so that could potentially be disastrous as well. So there are a couple of things at play, including acts of God. But either way, I hope that we do get down to Miami for a championship race in the near future. And that's it for this week of Rubbin is Racing. We only have a couple more episodes of this bad boy going after Martinsville and then after Phoenix. So thanks very much, everyone, for listening, and we'll talk to you next week on Rubbin is Racing.